will I ever be enough? Can I ever feel, can I ever know the experience of being content, being right here, right now, of feeling as if, in the body at least, everything's okay? Do I, with my eyes, with my mouth, with my ears, navigate the world seeking happiness outwardly by moving things into my life that make me feel good, that add meaning, purpose, and so on, in order to feel feelings on the inside of contentment, peace and happiness? If so, does it appear then that suddenly I feel like my ducks are in a row and that my external circumstances are sufficient, that I feel safe and I feel secure and I feel like this period of my life is good? Is that good measured by a previous experience of what we might call bad or difficult or challenging? And does it feel as though, does it seem as though, or is it actually that when I do feel like life is aligned in a way that suits how I currently perceive life should be, how I currently perceive and have been taught and have learned and have taken on board that this is how the good life is supposed to look? Do I have financial security? Do I have emotional stability? Do I have relationships in my life that add value rather than take from them? And if so, does it sometimes seem that the rug is pulled from under this and life happens to me, events transpire, and it seems sometimes that we create a chaos, or there is a chaos created around me, that I begin to become unable to balance the plates that I've been spinning and life seems to tumble away from me. Or perhaps it's a singular event and someone or something that really matters is removed from this perception that my life is in the right order just now, and this is how I thought it was going to turn out. Or are we able to sit with the enoughness of what there is right now? Many of us make do, many of us are satisfied enough to enjoy or endure things the way they are. Maybe we're living in terribly hostile set of circumstances. Maybe we're alone or isolated. Maybe we're imprisoned. Maybe we're a political prisoner. Maybe we're trapped. Maybe we're enslaved. Maybe we are the victim of abuse. Maybe we are the victim of being a perpetrator of abuse. Maybe we're at best enduring, and if our best is to endure, then our worst must be terrible suffering. But are we essentially looking out into the world for our sources of happiness and enoughness? Hopefully, possibly, arguably, in the exhaustion of a view of an outside world in which we can find temporary pockets of happiness over there, back there, by recreating this, or newly experiencing that, or going to that place, or returning from that very dark place. At the collapse of those programs, or at the exhaustion of searching outer space, the family, the environment, the community, the country, the travel to other countries, or the external world, for our happiness, we might be prompted by the recognition, the realization that our happiness isn't out there, to move inwardly, to attend to unfinished business, perhaps. Maybe we don't have any unfinished business. To attend to what's the nature of meaning. What does my life mean? What does life mean? What's my purpose? Perhaps we've exhausted purpose. Purposefulness is often an external facet. I over-identify with roles, with parenting, with workplace, with my sense of self. Maybe I've experienced being the best version of myself I've ever been, and that hasn't satisfied. Maybe we finally got there. Maybe we found financial security and it didn't satisfy. We still feel something is missing. Have we felt like, did we always feel like something is missing? Has there been an endemic sense of lack? And we find this new thing, this new shiny image, or this new shiny product, or this new shiny person with which we invest time, effort and energy in a relationship, and still we're not satisfied. We move inwardly. Perhaps we're led or driven by our own madness to develop a relationship with independence rather than codependency, with not a relationship with the mutuality of the external world, but that sense of my own being, the independent true self, wholeness of our very being. Maybe we source tribes, therapists, communities, philosophies, doctrines, practices, retreats, travel, in order to better understand ourselves. Maybe out of the desperation and loneliness of depression and addiction and brokenness and trauma, we are led, sometimes we are catapulted. The more we sink into the mire of the human experience, the arse end of humanity, the further down we go, it seems sometimes the faster we come up. And then, we want to associate with those that have been transformed in the way that we have. And maybe we want to associate less with those that are still undertaking the path towards the bottom. And life should bottom out on us. We should be forced. Life will ask us to ask larger questions of ourselves anyway. That's the walk. That's the way between the unknown experience of birth and the unknowing experience of death. There is an ascent and a descent as life is like a roller coaster, just as the prophet Bill Hicks said. And it bucks and wields and moves and undulates and ovulates. And it's just a ride. It is just a ride. And are we there learning the lessons of the ride along the way? Are we enjoying the peaks? Are we enduring the troughs? Are we learning the lessons whilst we're in the lows of the ride before we are catapulted into peak experiences and wonderful, spontaneous, concrete, combustible, explosive peak experiences and moments of unified consciousness of just being radically okay, radically undivided in the midst of the human experience of life? Do we feel ecstasy about nothing in particular? Are we in awe? Do we know awe? Have we experienced awe about whilst washing up, whilst cleaning our teeth, whilst waking up in the morning in the summer? That feeling of being a child on summer holidays returns at the age of 30, 40, 50, 60, and life is in session and we're a part of it and we're able to experience it and know it and be with it and have fun. Do we know joy? Have we lost joy? Where do we find that which is our happiness? We might find it in outside pockets, in feelings, in people, places and things. Enduring happiness in this particular experience, in my experience, was found when I finally exhausted the external world and was forced to by circumstances and situations, isolation, desperation, loneliness and destitution, broke, busted, disgusted and largely at that time not to be trusted, was pointed inwardly towards my own self, before my sense of self, before all of the conditioning and the programming and the enculturation and the exaggeration. And I was able to see, and the veil parted temporarily, and the veil kept parting in moments of this very happiness and connectivity that I'm pointing to with all of these bouncing words. That happiness was in my pocket all along, but I had to undertake the view outwardly and put right the harm caused when I began to move inwardly and I saw the reality for what it was, that objective, subjective experience of reality with a small r. And in that inward search was uncovered the great reality, capital T, capital G, capital R, inherent, innate, here all along. And since then, moving out of that for every moment, every day, every interaction and every encounter, and every thought and feeling that appears and disappears, being an opportunity to learn from what it was experience was trying to teach me, but not needing to covet experience or not needing to enable experience. And in that, just being happy.